Let me start this video off by giving this film the faintest bit of praise. Any film is better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. I literally brought this up just for the sake of the prop. Yeah, I'm not going to be watching that anytime soon, but yes, I'm going to say this right off the bat. I really don't think this is the worst X-Men movie. X-Men Origins Wolverine is still the worst. That said, it doesn't mean it's good. So, okay, I guess my overall history with the X-Men movie franchise, never saw the first X-Men movie as a kid. It wasn't until I was like a teenager that I got a copy of the first X-Men movie. It was worth, I think more of the praise for it comes from the fact it did help, like, launch the idea of taking comic book movies more seriously and doing them well. And for what it's worth, we have had good comic book movies since the first X-Men movie. But even then, it's still kind of flawed, like with its over-focus on Wolverine, most of the mutants don't really get that much screen time, Magneto's plan not really making any sense, that kind of thing. But you know, people still look back at it with fond memories, and understandably enough. X-Men 2, I've never been a fan of X-Men 2, and the ending is actually really stupid, so, I mean, there's still some good things in it, but I just feel as if, like, it didn't really accomplish much by the end of the film. Like, even with the whole, like, backstory for Wolverine being an experiment, yeah, we pretty much preset to give up before he did in the story. X-Men 3 The Last Stand. Not gonna lie, that one did suck, but it's like, the problem I had with that film is that it was more mediocre than anything else. Keep in mind, this is coming from someone who's not the biggest X-Men fan, not really that familiar with the comics. I know the general idea of them, but it's like, I've never really been attached to the X-Men. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth. But X-Men 3, it did have some good things in it, like the question of whether or not a mutant ability should be cured, or whether the cure should exist at all. And there were some really cool visuals, like Magneto lifting up the Golden Gate Bridge to get onto Alcatraz. I think that was cool. I think that was a cool visual, and something that hasn't been done in the previous two X-Men movies. So, for what it's worth, I don't hate X-Men 3, I'm just not the biggest fan of it. X-Men Origins Wolverine, however, can go fuck itself. Simple as that. X-Men Origins Wolverine, as far as I'm concerned, it's the worst one. Because it was such a massive disrespect to the character, not just the character of Wolverine, but every character in the bloody movie. We never got enough time to know about the characters. Wolverine's backstory feels just glanced over. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, X-Men Origins Wolverine can go fuck itself, especially for what it did to Deadpool. Like, I didn't know who Deadpool was at the time, so it didn't automatically click that was supposed to be Deadpool. But when I figured that out, and once I started reading into Deadpool, I realized, oh my god, that's a massive disrespect. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, no film has been worse since X-Men Origins Wolverine. Which makes it all the more ironic when you get to the next film, X-Men First Class, which I liked. I thought it was a massive improvement. I think it was the first legitimately good X-Men movie. I just wish the characters were a bit more interesting. I'm actually looking at the X-Men films right now. The Wolverine is a fine standalone film with a few missed opportunities and a bit of a continuity fluff here and there. Days of Future Past did fix things up for the X-Men movies, like mainly by erasing X-Men Origins out of canon. And I did like a lot of I liked a lot of the callbacks. Quicksilver was fun. And I did like what they did for the Sentinels in that movie. Though they did admittedly look a bit stupid in both the future and the past. There you go. First Deadpool movie. Love the first Deadpool movie because it's simple, but it gets the idea of the comic across. The idea of this fourth-wall breaking wisecracker who's just out to kill some guy. Very simple plot, but still a lot of fun and really funny. X-Men Apocalypse. Kind of boring. That one was legitimately boring. Like, Oscar Isaac was a fine choice for the character of Apocalypse. I just don't think he did the best job. The Quicksilver scene was cool, but it did just feel like an extended repeat of what we got in Days of Future Past. And all the motivations just did not make sense. So, yeah, X-Men Apocalypse, kind of one of the lesser tier X-Men movies, but it's like, I didn't hate it. Logan, I think thus far is the best X-Men movie, which is ironic since it's primarily just it's pretty much the third and final Wolverine movie. You know what? I'm glad it was the last one because you went all out with the. I like that you went all out with the R rating. Took a bit of advantage of the fact that they could say fuck more than once in the movie, but it was still a great film, perfect ending to Wolverine's story. And Deadpool 2, I'm still debating whether or not that's better than the first one, but I still like Deadpool 2 fine, even if I'm not a fan of the whole woman in the refrigerator trope. So now we get to X-Men Dark Phoenix, or just Dark Phoenix as it's called in some places. Yeah, look, people aren't automatically going to connect Dark Phoenix to it unless the X-Men title is assigned to it. Just call it X-Men Dark Phoenix. And like I said, I don't hate this film. I think the critics are being excessively mean to it. Like, calling it the worst one? No. No, it's not. It's far from the worst one. And and yes, I also say this to reviewer Jeremy Jahns. I love Jeremy Jahns. He's a legitimately funny guy. I love watching his stuff. But it's like, really? A dog shit rating? I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, dude. But I do understand where he and several other critics are coming from when they say it's not a good movie. Because, when you get back down to it, it isn't. It isn't a good movie. But it's not really horrible either. Because, okay, keep in mind, this film was written and directed by Simon Kinberg, aka the idiot who gave us Fant Four Stick. And as far as I know, was also involved with the writing for X-Men 3. So, yeah, not exactly the best track record with the X-Men movies. And for what I've researched, he's not really that involved with the X-Men movies, not even as a producer. It's just when he writes, he is not a good writer. I'm sorry, he just isn't. And, this is his directorial debut, and you can tell it's someone's directorial debut, because you got the tropes of a directorial debut. It's like a lot of shaky cam, a lot of emphasis on shots that do not need to be emphasized. Some shots lasting longer than others, and some shots taking too long, in my opinion, and some shots just being too quick, and the editing is all over the place. You can really tell this was Kinberg's first seat in the director's chair. Hopefully he'll get better as a director, because in fairness, he has gotten better as a writer since Fant Four Stick. But that's not really saying much. Fant Four Stick is still a dog shit, a pile of dog shit. So, okay, plot for this film, you already know what it is for the trailer. Jean Grey, aka Phoenix, when the X-Men are on a mission, Jean gets attacked by what they think is supposed to be this cosmic storm. She absorbs it. She absorbs its power, and they bring her back aboard onto their ship, and then they land and then they land back. And after that, Jean's powers start to go out of control, including this mental lock that Xavier left on her when she was a little girl to block out this memory, to block out this part of her memory. Because basically, as a kid, Jean Grey was inadvertently responsible, not inadvertently, unintentionally responsible for the death of her mother. And for the longest time, she believed she was also responsible for killing her dad, but her dad was actually perfectly fine. He just didn't want to deal with her knowing that she was a super powerful mutant. So Xavier took her in when she was a little girl and blocked that part of her memory, which, kind of a dick move. And in the movie, they at least recognize that it's a dick move. I just wish that, Xavier didn't have his head so far up his ass about it. He's saying, oh, I was doing it to save her. If you're protecting someone from the truth, you're not really saving them. Especially when the revelation of that truth leads them to react violently. Like, later on in the movie, and I'm not really spoiling anything, it's basically given away in the trailers, it's not very subtle. Yes, Fox really needs to work on their trailers, but basically, at one point, Jean finds her way back to her dad, and is, of course, angry with that he never tried to come for her, and, this is when the other X-Men arrive, which really consists of, Beast, Xavier, Cyclops, Storm, Nightcrawler, Quicksilver, and Mystique. Wait, did I always say Mystique? I forget. But, yeah, it's like during this, Mystique gets killed. And it's like, I could tell what that was going to happen from the trailer. And that's a massive misuse of Jennifer Lawrence, who I think has been one of the best parts of these movies, because I think she did a great job as Mystique in every appearance she was in. It just came down to the writing of the character, whether or not it was a good representation of the character. But her acting was always top notch when it came to Mystique. In this film, though, she felt a bit wasted, frankly. Oh, and of course they also include that stupid bloody line. You know, it's the women that always save the day. You should start calling us the X-women. Because, of course, they need to shove that SJW pandering down our throats. And look, the whole idea of the X-Men is about inclusion and acceptance of others and dealing with prejudice. And the way that she phrases it makes it seem as if women are always the superior of the sexes. I mean, nowadays I have no problem believing that men are idiots. I have no problem believing that. And you know, I really do think women should have many equal rights as men. But when you start shoving it down our throats to make the men look like incompetent idiots, yeah, I'm not going to get into this whole, like, gender role debate thing. It's always been... It's a constant nowadays with discussions of gender roles, especially in our current political climate. But point is, my problem with it is that it's a stupid line, a very, very stupid line, and yeah, I do think the X-Men title is a bit macho, but that's always going to be a thing. But anyways, enough of that, and I really don't want to see like this kind of discussion in the comments. I just want to see you like talking about the movie, what your thoughts are on the movie. That's it. And whether or not you agree with me, that's perfectly fine. But I really don't want any discussions about men versus women or anything like that. Anyways, but basically, Raven does end up getting killed. And this then leads Jean to seek out Magneto, who has his own island. You know, after the events of Days of Future Past, where he helped kill Apocalypse, after also helping Apocalypse try to kill the planet, but whatever. But basically, he's been given his own island, which I think is supposed to be Genosha. At least I think it's called Genosha, but it's basically supposed to be this island of mutants owned by Magneto that I believe in the comics was eradicated by the Sentinels. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm not the biggest follower of X-Men comics minutia, but like I only just got the Phoenix Saga today. I've only just started reading it, like in part preparation for watching the film. Excuse me. And I didn't really get that far. But it's like my knowledge of the X-Men comics is generally very limited. But I do believe this island is supposed to be Genosha. And basically, during this, an alien race comes down. And this is the Dabari? I want to say they're called the Dabari. I think it's D''BARI. I think that's what they're called. I wasn't really paying attention to what they're called, because they're led by Jessica Chastain, who's playing Vuk. I think it's pronounced Vuk, V-U-K. Who, as revealed to Jean later, the cosmic energy that she's absorbed, but it's not called the Phoenix Force at all. Like, come on, you're a comic book movie. Call it the Phoenix Force. Basically, the Phoenix Force can be a destroyer and a creator, and it ended up wiping out Vuk's home planet, because anything that came into contact with the Phoenix Force was basically destroyed until Jean, due to her nature as a powerful psychic, which we never really saw in the in X-Men Apocalypse. Like, the one time we saw it was when... Okay, this is the part that kind of confused me in terms of the continuity, because in X-Men Apocalypse, we see her, like, help to defeat Apocalypse using her psychic powers, which look like... It's shaped like a phoenix, and it's implied to be the Phoenix Force, which acted as the setup for the Dark Phoenix story. But then in this film, she suddenly has a brand new version of the Phoenix Force, or she never had the Phoenix Force, and it just so happened that her powers happen to look like a phoenix. Again, not the biggest comic book guy, so I wouldn't know if this is a thing in the comics, but I'm pretty sure it's when she got the Phoenix Force that she became Phoenix, isn't it? And it was only when she started being corrupted by that power she became Dark Phoenix. So it's really convoluted, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, with this power, Jean has the ability to either create or to destroy, which ties into the whole Phoenix destruction, resurrection kind of power. And this also does tie into to the end of the movie. And so sorry if it looks a bit dark. Lightning's all over the place. I am terribly sorry about that. I guess I can just do a good start on my round of complaints. One, we don't really get attached to these characters. Like, keep in mind, most of this cast, well, no, not most of this cast, half of this cast, Jean, Nightcrawler, and Cyclops and Storm, they were only just introduced in the last film. Like, canonically, with the, what I'm calling the McAvoy sect of the X-Men universe, we've only just been introduced to these characters in the last movie. Like, at least the last X-Men movie, not Logan or Deadpool 2. It's like, I didn't really care for them in X-Men Apocalypse. Not much is, they're not really giving me much to really care about them here. And it's like, I get what they're going for. It's with like, when we see Jean and Scott together, Jean and Cyclops, like showing their relationship, like actually showing their relationship and showing how the power that Jean has is affecting the relationship. And for what it's worth, I do get what they're going for with Jean being incapable of controlling this power because it may end up destroying her and those around her. I get that. I get what they're going for. The problem is, I don't really care for Jean. Like, in this film. I didn't really care for her, in the first 3 X-Men movies, and I don't really care for her here. Because she's just being killed, I'm not giving anything away. This happens every single time they do the Phoenix Force story. Like, I think she ends up getting killed off at the end. It's not entirely clear. So it's like, you're killing her off after she's been in the movie, and even then she was barely a presence in that movie. And now you're suddenly making her the kind of sort of main antagonist of this film. Like, I understand what they're trying to do, trying to show how the power she has, it gives her such a thrill, but it can be so destructive and chaotic at the same time. I get that, it's just not really done that well, because we never really got a sense of how powerful Jean really was. Just Xavier constantly going, oh, she's the strongest psychic I ever came across. But that's being said by one of the strongest psychics on the planet. So, of course, he'd probably say that if he came across another psychic, because as far as I know, there's not that many, like, telepathic psychics out there in the X-Men universe. Again, as far as I know. What else is there? Quicksilver doesn't really have much of a purpose in this movie. He only just... Sorry about that noise. Channing's just acting up. Anyways, now again, I'm really sorry for the noise outside. It's just my baby brother acting up. It's like, Quicksilver doesn't really have much of a purpose to be in this movie. He's only really just there. He's just kind of there. It's like, we see him on the mission to save these astronauts from the Phoenix Force when it's first arriving and attacking a shuttle. And I kind of understand why he was there for that bit, because he was trying to because he had to get the astronauts out as quickly as possible, get them to Nightcrawler so they can teleport then teleport the astronauts out. I get that. But it's like, otherwise, for the remainder of the movie, he really has no purpose being there. Like, Days of Future Past, he had a narrative purpose. He was there to help... he was there to help Logan, Xavier, and Hank to break Eric out. I get that. X-Men Apocalypse, he has more of a personal reason to be there because he's figured out Magneto is his dad, and he figures he can try and reach Magneto to stop him from helping Apocalypse. I understand that. I don't understand why he's here in this film. He doesn't really serve much of a purpose. It's like, we see him for like one more action scene when they first going up against Jean Grey. You know, in the scene where Raven is killed, and he's literally just knocked away. And we don't really see him until the end of the movie, where he's just casually walking through the hall, telling someone to stop running in the holes. It's like, I like Quicksilver. I liked him in the other X-Men movies, but there's not really much of a reason for him to be in this one. You know, I'm really same with Storm, really, because Storm is only really there just as basically muscle, but basically it's like backup during the fight scenes, which, you know, you could have gone like, you could have replaced it with Colossus, with Kitty Pryde, with Jubilee, who Jubilee is a thing in this movie, in this universe. I think we saw her in X-Men Apocalypse. She's the one wearing her signature yellow jacket and pink shirt. Any of them could replace Quicksilver and Storm, really. I'm trying to think. Magneto doesn't really do much in the movie either, because, again, he's on his island, he's at Genosha, he really has no reason to go back until he learns that Raven is dead, which, again, Raven's death could have been avoided, because I don't like the woman in the refrigerator trope. I made that clear before. And this is basically what they're doing here, using the death of a female character to motivate the male characters, to motivate them into action. They do that with Hank because, Hank and Mystique did like each other. And then they do that with Magneto when he learns that Jean killed Mystique. So it's like, it's just women in refrigerator, and I hate that trope. Like, I didn't even like it in Deadpool 2, and they pretty much just retconned it out of existence by the end of the movie, but it makes sense within the context of the movie because they have the time travel device, they fixed it, and Deadpool is just using it as a means for his own personal ends. That at least made sense. And, it was more of an in-joke for him to kill Barakapool from X-Men Origins and to shoot Ryan Reynolds in the head before he could sign on to do the Green Lantern movie. Okay, I get people don't like the Green Lantern movie, but is it really worth shooting the guy over? What else? The Dabari are basically useless in this movie. I mean, completely useless. Like, Vuk is the only one who ever does anything, and even then, she doesn't really do that much. It's like, she just talks about the Phoenix Force, but we never get a clear idea of, like, what her end goals are, or really what other reason she's doing on Earth chasing this thing down. Like, okay, we know her planet was destroyed, but what's she going to do with the Phoenix Force? How does she know that the Phoenix Force can be used to recreate her home planet? It's never made clear how she knows that. Or they know that. I don't know if Vuk's supposed to be a man or a woman. They take the form of Jessica Chastain, so I'm assuming that Vuk is supposed to be a woman, but it's never made clear what their end goal actually is. So yeah, that's my legit. Oh, and the climax of the film takes place on a train, and it's about as exciting as that sounds. It's like they have this great opportunity to really use Speedy Show Jean using the Phoenix Force and its destructive capabilities, and they did that in X-Men: The Last Stand. Like, okay, what I'll say is Dark Phoenix is definitely a better version of the Dark Phoenix saga than Last Stand, because Last Stand, again, it's more of a mediocre film, but I do get why people don't like that as an adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga. But with the ending of this film, they don't really show off how truly powerful the Dark Phoenix is. Just show her throwing people around and them disintegrating people. We never really get a taste of the power. Like in The Last Stand, we got a taste of the Phoenix power. We saw just without having to raise a hand that the stuff with the Phoenix could destroy an entire island, could disintegrate hundreds of people at a time. That's the kind of power we're talking about here. That we were talking about with X-Men 3. Again, X-Men 3 is not good, but I think it still did a better job at demonstrating how powerful the Phoenix Force is. And keep in mind, the Phoenix Force in that film was just a split personality triggered by water. Okay, so that's my critiques out of the way. Positives? The action scenes are fine. The action scenes do have a bit of a charm to them. Although because of the nature of the shaky cam, it is kind of hard to follow at times. The music, as usual, from Hans Zimmer is legitimately good. I do like the subtle female choir that plays whenever we see Jean struggling to hold back the power of the Phoenix. I think that is legitimately good. The actors all do a great job. I say it with sincerity. The actors really do a great job in this film. Especially with Hank, the actor for Hank, the actor for Magneto, I forget his name, Michael Fassbender, he did a great job. James McAvoy is fun as always, so Xavier does come off as a bit of a selfish dick at a lot of points, and he doesn't really change his ways until like the very end, when he retires, and then the school is called the Jean Grey School for the Gifted. I'm really trying to think of other positives because, again, I really do like this cast, and the young X-Men cast have always been doing a great job. I just really wish there was more for them to do. I just really wish the script gave them much more to do than what was presented, because I don't want to say I hate this movie, because I don't. I don't think it's the worst one. X-Men Origins is still the worst one. But this is still on the lower tier with Apocalypse, X-Free, and Origins. So I can't really think of much else to say. If you like the other X-Men movies, I don't know if you'll really like this one, because there's not really that much going on in terms of story. Like a lot of it is just to show Jean Grey crying a lot of the time, which given it's Sansa Stark, I expect her to constantly cry. And before you guys know, I have not seen the last season of Game of Thrones, so I know the ending and I know it sucks. Yeah, if this is supposed to be the last hurrah for this cast, for this X-Men cast, it's not really that much of a hurrah. It just feels like them just going, okay, we're done, we're going, bye-bye. That's what it really feels like. They're them just shrugging things off and deciding to just head off and do literally anything else. Which is not really how one should feel with like the finale to something. Like, I'm not expecting Endgame level kind of finale, but I expect a bit more grandeur, like something that actually feels big rather than something that feels big rather than something that says it's big but never really deliver. Like, I knew this was going to be a mess of a movie because of the reshoots and because of how the cast had reportedly been treated, but I really do wish there was more to it. I really do think you could have like a grand finale to these movies. Like, I know this is not the last of the Fox-produced X-Men movies. I do know that the New Mutants, the psychological horror film, is coming out next year. But here's the thing, that one was also held back by a lot of reshoots and rewrites. So we'll still see how that one turns out. But I really do hope it does feel like a better send-off to the Fox X-Men movies than what we had with Dark Phoenix, because, you know, now that the X-Men movies are probably going to be folded into the MCU, and, you know, they reboot the universe, because that's probably what they're going to do. I just wish that the X-Men movies went on a better note than this. Again, not as bad as X-Men Origins. None of the movies are ever going to be as bad as X-Men Origins, but it could have been a lot more. It easily could have been a lot more, especially with this cast. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw here and you stuck to the end, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and share it on Facebook, Twitter, and all that. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's @media_man18. I tweet there virtually every day, and you can still follow me on Facebook as well. If I leave my Facebook links in the description, I tend to forget. And I also have a written blog, so you can see the written reviews I've made thus far. And yes, I know my early written reviews are kind of cringeworthy, but I really would appreciate if you at least check them out. And again, like I said before, leave a like, a comment, please share and subscribe. Can't really think of anything else. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.